Good morning, everybody, to this Buying in Home in Groningen webinar. Today, I will present you, of course, the most important facts about the buying process, and then focus, of course, a little bit on Groningen as well. I will do that together with my colleague, Rafaela. She will answer all your questions. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat in between, or you can also keep them just until the end, and then we'll go into respond to your questions as well. Me, myself, and Rafaela will be your hosts today. If you have any questions, feel free, and then I propose to start now with the general content of this webinar. The first thing maybe to present is myself. Not the most important, but I'm the business unit manager with Expat Housing Network. I'm originally from Belgium, so I know what it is to be an expat, although it is close. I'm a proud father of a daughter of 3 years old who thinks that she's already 10, so that gives some funny situations, I can tell you. And we bought a home in the Netherlands ourselves 3 years ago as well, so totally aligned with the total process. Maybe interesting to know who you are as well. I will start with the first poll, and then you can tell me where you found us exactly, and what you made decide you to buy on today. Normally you should see the poll on the screen now. So I see that you find us via the social media. That's good to know. And that you like to buy a house because rents are very high. I can totally understand that. It's true as well. You like to settle, and important as well, you like to build up some equity. There are all good reasons to be here today, and we are going to focus on those points as well, of course, during the webinar. Perfect. Then let's go forward with the next slide. What are we going to do? Of course, we introduce ourselves a little bit as the total company. Then we focus on the market. What is the market doing on today in the general of the Netherlands and in Groningen itself? What are the most important market drivers? If you buy a house or you want to buy a house, how many savings do you need? Also very important to know, of course. And then some tips that we give you to win in the current market. Some tips that are important to make a good offer and to close the deal, as they say. And of course, we will take you through the total timeline of the buying process so that you know exactly how the process goes, where are the points that are very important to give some extra attention, and of course, how we can help you with that as well, if you like us to do that. First thing is maybe important to mention that greatness is always achieved in the agency of others. And so that means that I'm not working alone, Rafaela is not working alone, but we are working with a big team of people. You see Katie, Giovanna, Ludo, Rafaela, Rick, Ellen, and myself. And recently Jorge joined us as well. So I still have to update the slides, but that means that if you work together with us, of course, Rafaela will always be your personal and local contact. That is very important. But we have also some services to support, like Ellen, and also Rick can always support us in general, and Rafaela as well, with doing all investigations on documents and further on. So important to know that if you work together with us, it's with a total team, of course, with everybody's own experience and also its own background. We are not a traditional real estate agent. That's what we say. Not that we have something against real estate agents, not at all, but we think we just work a little bit different. What is important to know is that at the moment, we only focus at buying and renting. Yeah, that means that we always work for our clients that are looking for a property and that want to buy something or to rent something. We are not selling houses on today, or we don't rent out the places for the property owner as well. So that's a little bit of the difference how we see our services, and that's also how we are organized and structured, with always the focus on the client that is in front of us, and that we want to help in the best possible way. We charge also a fixed fee, so we don't work on a commission base. That means that if you start services with us, you will know exactly what you need to pay. We come to that a little bit later as well, because we have different packages. But it doesn't depend on the price that you pay for the property. So we have a certain service and we ask a certain fee for that, but it will never depend on the purchase price that you pay for the house finally. As I already said, we work with a lot of expats or with Dutch people that were an expat before in other countries. So in that sense, we also know what it is to buy a property in a country where you were not born, where you maybe lived for some time, but you don't always know everything from A to Z. And sometimes as well, you don't master the language totally as well. So all those points, we know what it is to buy a property in a foreign country, and then also what are the main points to focus on. If you work with us, what is important to that, what is the added value that we can bring, is for sure that selling agents take offers from buying managers in general and also from EHN a little bit more seriously. What do I mean with that is that they know when we don't make one offer, of course, we work with different parties at different times. And they know when we make an offer as well that we did our homework, as we call it, that we looked at all the points that are important, and that it is also for the seller very likely that if they agree to your offer, that you will sign the purchase contract and that you will sign a transfer deed as well, totally in the end. So that gives a little bit of comfort, and in that sense, I want to say that they take our offers a little bit more seriously, but of course, it will help you as well, finally, to close the deal. What we can help as well is supporting you to book any viewings when that is not longer possible. Of course, it's not in this market. We all know that the offer is low and the demand is very high. So it is sometimes so busy on a certain property that even for us, it is difficult still to book that viewing. So the first tip always is be fast. If you see something that you like, don't wait too long, but already take action to book that viewing. But if there is a property that you say, okay, we want to visit and it's no longer possible, then sometimes there are some slots for buying agents reserved as well, and we can help you then to book that viewing. Of course, as I explained already, of course, it are Dutch properties, so Dutch legal documents and general property documents. We support you in that. We will do the total review, of course, of all those documents because they are very important. We will tell you what are the red flags, maybe if they are available, if they apply. But we will also tell you, of course, if there is information missing, maybe that you need to ask for some extra documents or some extra information, and that can be very important as well. And then we help you to define the market value. That is also very important for sure. If you will talk to your bank or your mortgage advisor as well, you know that the property will always be financed 100% of the value of the property. That is the maximum. Of course, the other benchmark is your salary. But it means that before you make the offer, you need to be a little bit comfortable with the offer that you make, and you need to know as well what are you likely to have as a mortgage when you go to the bank. So therefore, we define the market value together with you, that you have a clear view on that. And of course, we will inform you about all rules and regulations in general that apply, and make sure that you don't make any mistakes that ourselves or maybe our clients in the past made. So based on our experience, of course, we can help you as well to make the process going as smooth as possible. Then maybe in the next poll, to know exactly in which step of the process you are at the moment. So I will give you some seconds to reply to that. So I see that a lot of you are still searching at the moment. So that's a good moment to join this webinar. Didn't chat with an agent yet. And you didn't have a chat with a mortgage broker yet as well. That's good. Then we can give you some references as well about it. Perfect. Very good to receive that information. Then I know a little bit where you are and where is the focus. And I understand it's the info from A to Z. First, the market information. Very important to see what is happening. Also, always good to look a little bit at history of prices and the market in general. And if we look then at the table, then you see, of course, with the line that is very clear, that the prices since 2005 almost all the time went up. Of course, you have some little dips. That was around 2008, 2009, when we had the banking crisis. And then around 2011, 2013 again, based on all the consequences that the banking crisis still had in the Dutch market. But since 2013, you can see that as well. And it's a clear line going up and going up quite fast. And that's also when you follow the news a little bit, that you read that since 2013, the average prices, and you can see that on the graph as well, of course, that the average prices almost doubled or doubled in the meantime. Yeah. So very interesting to see that average prices were in 2020. They were still around 334,000 euros in the Netherlands of existing houses, that is. And when we look at 2021, then the average price is already at 438,000 euros. Yeah. So also last year we saw a big increase in prices, and still this year it is expected that prices will go up. But we come to that a little bit further because there are some parameters that play a role in that. We are always talking about average prices. Then we talk about existing properties. We have of course also the market of the new build properties. You see over there that the average price in 2021 was 466,000. That price is a little bit different as there are also some specific costs included. I'm not going to go too deep on new builds on today, but we also have a webinar coming up in this month. So you can always go further to our website and have a look at that. Always keep in mind that there is a little bit of difference between new builds and average and existing houses on the costs that you need to calculate. So if you compare those prices, you cannot do that one-on-one. Yeah, but very clear. So the prices, they go up, and even when we put indexation next to that, then you see that house prices are going up the last couple of years faster than the index does. So that is very important to know. And then if you go to look at the Q4 numbers of 2021 on existing properties for Groningen, what do we see over there? That 908 houses were sold. And you see as well that it's 21% less than 1 year ago. That's a little bit the general situation on the market that we see on today, is that the offer in the market is quite low. They say the market is drying out. Of course, it doesn't mean that you cannot find the right property. It's always possible to find a nice property, but it means as well that you need to be fast. We said already during the viewing, you need to make a well-informed decision, very important, but you need to make also a good offer to say. As we still see that prices are going up, it is very likely that when you go to see at the property and it is sold, and you go to see to the neighboring property like 3 months later, that the price of that neighboring property will be higher than the one that was sold before. That is still what we see, and that has to do big time as well with the fact that the offer is quite low. Yeah, houses for sale 319, minus 29%. Average purchase price, if you look at Groningen, it's around 335,000 euros. Of course, that's always an average, because you see then that you have properties that are sold at a lower price, properties that of course are sold at a higher price. But if you compare that to the general of the Netherlands, then you still see a difference of a little bit more than 100K on the average price in Groningen compared to the total Dutch market. So that's a good thing in the sense that you buy in a market that is still affordable, if you can say it like that. Although you also see that the increase in price was more than 20% in Q4, and over the total of 2021, it was even close to 29%. Yeah. So very important to keep that in mind, that also in Groningen, we see that prices are going up, and even a little bit faster if you take the percentage than other cities in the Netherlands. And then we come to an average price a square meter in Q4 around 3,200 euros. So that's something you can bear in mind. and that we see that the sales times, as I said, is 21 days. So that's very low. It's a very fast process. The moment that something comes on the market until the moment that it's sold, only 20 days. That's not that long. Yeah, so be fast for sure. And then, as I already said, there are some reasons, of course, for the prices to go up, and maybe also to have a look, yeah, what will be the result the next coming months and years, if something would change in those parameters or conditions. For sure, we see that fiscal benefits play a role. You have a tax exemption, and yeah, under some conditions, of course, but normally you pay 2% transfer tax. But if you buy under 400,000 and below 35 years old, then you can be exempted from property tax. So that's very interesting to have a look at. You have the interest rebate. That means that when you pay interests, that they are deducted from your income before they get taxed. So that's a very positive point. And in that sense, okay, you pay some interests, but yeah, they're compensated in the later taxation on your salary. There are no capital gains. That's also very important. So when you buy a property and you sell it again, then the added value that you have from that sales will not be taxed. That's very positive. Of course, you also understand that it also means that this pushes the prices up in the current market. Because if you see, like I said before, if you bought a property like in 2013, now yeah, the value of that property is just doubled. So people that yeah, are able to sell their house and bought around that time, they have like 200K or something as own savings already, and can put that on top of the price if necessary, above the mortgage that they will receive. And of course, that has a big impact on the market. So that's why we see that we live in a bullish market at the moment. You also have the tax-free parent donation. That's called Jubelton in Dutch. But it will still apply this year, will be a lot less next year, and in 2024 it will end. All those fiscal benefits for sure do something about the prices, because people yeah, in total, based on their budget, are able to pay a little bit more for the property that they like. What we see as well, that of course there are low interest rates, and that is also a very important driver that is clear. What we see on today, that of course the last couple of days and weeks, the interest rates are going up and are going up quite fast. But if we compare it in a total yeah, historical yeah, overview to say, then we still see that interest rates are quite low. We are maybe around 2% on average now, I believe, depending of course also on the conditions of your mortgage. But it still means that yeah, the money that you need to buy something is quite cheap, and therefore people can buy the house at a more expensive price as well. So for sure, low interest rates still play a role. Going forward, if they really go high and go to 3% or more than 3%, for sure, it will have an impact on the prices. That is clear. But still, as I said, the interest rates are on a historical low. So if we see the total of the economy doing on today, I believe that still this year, and experts together with me, that this year we see prices going up. Of course, next year we need to see, but also expected to go up, but a little bit less. And of course, in 3 years, we need to see what exactly is going on. What we see as well is that, for example, a war in Ukraine also has an impact on the interest rates, that it is likely that they will go up a little bit slower than could be the case if there was no war. So also that plays a role, of course. But still, I believe if you say, I want to buy a property in the Netherlands, because I saw some people want to settle, also build up equity, it is still very useful to start the process now, to buy a property today at a low interest rate that is likely to go up in the next couple of months and couple of years. And also expect that the market, that still prices will go up. You will still have that potential of yeah, having some added value to your property that you buy today. Of course, the high rents was also mentioned by some people, but that is correct. If you rent the property, you don't build up any equity. And yeah, then sometimes if you make the calculation, it is much better to buy a property for sure if you are going to stay for some years in the country. And then the last element that I like to stress is the lack of supply, and that is also very important. I think if you see everything on the screen, then I believe low interest rates and lack of supply are the main drivers that have the most impact, in the sense that, of course, you can only buy what you can finance with your mortgage, that is clear, but you can only buy as well the offer that is on the market. And we saw already that last year the offer was low. Also this year the offer is still quite low, and that means that if you need to pick and choose between properties, that you don't have too many options to have a look at, and that means that it is also like that a lot of people are going to visit the same house than you do, and as a result, of course, the purchase price always goes up a little bit more. A solution for that, of course, is that the government would, together with developers, have a plan to build more houses as soon as possible in the Netherlands. There are some plans for that for sure, but what we see on today is that we should still build like 300,000 houses for the demand in the market on today. That means if you buy 100,000 houses, that it takes 3 years. And until now, we were only able to build like 70,000 houses. So it will take longer than 3 years to build all the houses that are demanded on today. Extra to that, of course, we see as well that Corona, there were problems with building materials. With Corona, there were also problems with people working in that industry to build houses. And we now see as well that there are some emission problems, where it can be that some permissions will have delay as well. So again, that will mean that the new supply coming in the market and the new builds will be delayed again. So all that taking into account, it will take some time until there is enough offer in the market, and that it will really be a relief also on prices, in the sense that there is enough offer and you can choose the property that you like the most without too much competition. That is still not the case today, and as I just explained, I believe that will take some years from now. Yeah. So that are the main drivers in the market on today. I gave you some explanations as well what to expect the next coming time. Of course, we don't have a glass ball, as we say it. So the market can always, at a certain moment, change the direction a little bit, but still, the experts as well, if you read different articles about it, then they still believe for this year that the prices will go up with around 10%. And in January, for sure, that was the case, because they went up even a little bit higher, I believe. And for next year, everybody expects a price increase between 3 and 5% in the market. So a little bit lower, but still an increase in prices. And we see some specific elements that also play a role, of course. I told you already, new builds are important. Also with the city of Groningen, there is a commitment that was made by the federal government to support in building 20,000 new places by 2030 in Groningen. That's very good as well. Of course, it's not immediately tomorrow, but it's already a good step or a first step in a good direction. Then you have the national mortgage guarantee. That is for the houses that are a little bit in the lower range or under the average price, until 355,000 euros, that you can apply for the national mortgage guarantee. What is interesting about that, it's a kind of insurance that you have when you cannot pay the mortgage anymore, but it is also a mortgage system where you can profit from some interesting interest rates on your mortgage. You will need to pay a little cost at the start when you buy the house, but you have then an insurance, and you will also have the benefit of lower interest rates. And then the last point that I was also mentioning, it's very important, of course, it's the interest rates that are rising. As I explained already in detail, we are on a general low, but of course, they are rising. So the sooner you can get a mortgage, I believe, the more interesting that will be. Yeah. So these 3 topics to explain a little bit what also happens recently and interesting to take into account when you go further. Interesting question that we always get as well when we speak to potential buyers is, okay, what do I need now in savings before I can start the buying process? I will have a look with you at all those costs that apply. You always need to take into account around 5 to 6% of your purchase price as the total cost of the closing fees, as we call it. But there is a little bit of a breakdown to make. So the first element is, of course, the transfer tax that you need to pay. And that's a cost that you pay to the government. And that's just because the ownership changed of the property, and that's 2%. Unless I already explained, you're younger than 35, you buy up till 400K, and it's the first time that you use that exemption, then you can be exempted from transfer tax, and then it's 0% at that moment. The other costs that apply are the notary costs. There you will have for sure have the transfer deed. Normally you will also have a mortgage deed. Depending on the notary, it will be around 600 to 1,100 euros. Of course, it's all estimations, but it is in that range. You will also have to pay your bank, or if you choose for a mortgage broker, and sometimes that can be very interesting as well, because they offer you, of course, the total offer of different banks, and for sure with expats, because sometimes in a file there is something specific. It can make a difference as well to be sure that you will receive mortgage. If you go with the bank, they charge an administration fee will be 1,500, maximum 2,000, I believe. Mortgage broker a little bit more expensive, around 3,400 euros, depending also on the package, because they also offer different packages. But as I said, you will have more offer coming from the market, or a broader view on all the different financial institutions that can offer you a mortgage, and that can be sometimes very interesting to do. What I always say is try to get in contact with them and have a first chat, and that's always free of charge, and then you can see if you feel comfortable going forward further or not. If you're really interested for some details, you can put your name in the chat, or you're emailing the name in the chat afterwards, and we can share some contact details with you. What you need to take into account as well is the real estate agent fee, of course. As I said, we have a fixed fee, and I come to that package a little bit lower. With a typical real estate agent, they charge 1% or 2% of the purchase price. So then it depends, of course, on your purchase price. As I said, we charge a fixed fee because we think that the purchase price is not relevant for the work that we do for you. Then we have the appraiser coming in, 650 until 800 euro, also depending a little bit what they need to do. If you have renovation costs included in your mortgages or no, that will also make a difference for his report. So that has an influence as well. You have the technical inspector. You can choose to put that in and to do that inspection, yes or no, but it is a cost at 435, and then you have a report from the technical inspector to see what is the status of the building, that you're sure that there are no big defects at the property on today, and also that you know what is likely to be the maintenance cost next coming year and next coming 5 years most of the time. You will need to have an interpreter, but that's more to go to the notary. It's obliged if you don't speak Dutch as a mother tongue to have an interpreter over there as well. And then you can pay your deposit. I come to that a little bit later in the buying process. At a certain moment, you will need to pay a deposit to the seller. You do that via the notary, but you can use their bank guarantee if you decide not to do it with the deposit yourself. Yeah. And then, as I said, the last cost, that's a cost depending if you choose for the NHG, of course, and that means if you do that, then you pay 0.6% of the mortgage amount as a cost. Then of course you can benefit from that more interesting interest rates. So if you fall in that category that is possible to apply for the NHG, then most of the time, for sure do the calculation, but most of the time it's beneficial for you to apply for it. And then we have 3 tips for you to win in the current market, because okay, you enter the market, but of course the final goal is always to close the deal and to buy a property. And I will give you some tips how to do that. The first tip that is very important, and I discussed yesterday as well with some clients, is that you need to look at the value of the property. Value. That's what we say always to ourselves, but also to the clients. And why do we say that? I will explain you with a little example. We have this property. It is listed asking price 395,000 euros. If we go to see at that property and we do our research, then we see, okay, the asking price is 395,000, that's clear. But we look at the market value, and it seems that the market value, if we are going to make an appraisal of it or an estimation of the value, then we see that it's worth around 415,000 euros. Yeah, that means that if finally the purchase is concluded and the property is sold for 435,000 euros, that there is a difference of 30k or 10% with the asking price, but there is only a difference of 4.8% or 20k with the value of the property. Yeah, that's why we always like to stress, because a lot of people ask us, how much do we need to overbid on the asking price? That's not always so clear to say, and always saying like, yeah, you need to overbid X% on the asking price. That's not always correct as well. The most correct is to go to see at the value of the property. That's also the amount that I already stated that you can have as a mortgage. 100% of the value can be your maximum mortgage. And then to see, of course, what is still needed in the market of today to add as a little bit up to that market value to be sure that you can buy the property and that you make the best offer. Yeah. If I go to the next slide, you will see why it is that important to look at the value and not only at the asking price. If we see in this slide, the asking price of that same property, let's say that it was the neighbor that was for sale at the same moment. The asking price is 375. The market value of that property is also 415. These are the same properties. And it's also sold for 435,000 euros. Then we see that the difference with the asking price and the final purchase price is 60k or 16%. Yeah. And then we see that, of course, with the value, there is no change. It stays at 4.8% and it stays at 20k. And the purchase price, of course, is the 435. It means that at this time, you would overbid on the asking price with 16%. That is normal, of course, because the asking price was put lower. Yeah, but we still look at the same property with the same market value, and we end at the same purchase price. It means as well that if we go back to the previous example, and we have there the asking price at 395,000, and we would take this percentage that you will overbid with 16%, and of course pay more than the 435,000 that is needed for that property. Yeah, so that's why we say don't look only at the asking price and the percentage that you need to overbid on that. Also, it can be very different in different cities between different neighborhoods, so that's very dangerous as well. It is always important to look first at the market value to know what is that value that you can have financed with a mortgage if you like to do that, and then to see, okay, what is likely the amount that we need on top of that to be able to buy the property. And of course, making that decision and making that calculation, we will always do together with you. The second thing is, after we did that price research and you said, okay, I looked at property documents as well, looking good, I want to make an offer. Then of course you want to make a good offer. And a good offer, of course, it's always important to offer a good price. A good price is not always the highest price, but let's be honest, some sellers only want to have the highest price as possible. And then they are going to estimate a little bit what is the security of the offer that you made. So that will play a role, but still a high price will be a top ranked possibility for the seller to agree on, of course. You need to offer some security to the seller. That is very important. And that's why we also say, we came to that a little bit earlier, is you need to give some comfort as well on your financing. If, for example, you buy a property and you say, okay, I buy it at 435 as we saw, but I only need financing for 300,000 euros, for example. Of course, that will give more security to the seller. It will be more likely that you will get that mortgage, and that as you have some own savings as well, that for him it's secure when you make the offer, when he agrees to it, that he will sell the property to you. What can also be important sometimes is that you say, yeah, I need 100% mortgage, but of course you spoke already with your mortgage advisor up front. We always ask you to do that as well. And then when we speak to the selling agent as well, we mention that. We mention that again in our offer that we make, of course. Sometimes we even add a little letter from your mortgage advisor where he stated that he looked at your salary and the total conditions of the property, and that it is very likely that you will receive a mortgage for the house you're looking at. We can add that to the offer, of course, that will help. And all those things in general will give the seller the confidence that when he agrees to your offer, you will also go forward with signing the purchase contract and also signing the transfer deed. Of course, offer the least amount of hassle is also important. What is the most relevant factor in that? A lot of times we see that the transfer date is very important for the seller because they bought also something else, so they have an own timeline as well. And they, of course, want to move out of their property the moment that they can move into the next property they're going to. So for sure, a transfer date on today, most of the times when we make an offer, we say that it's negotiable. Of course, we will ask you what will be the expected date. And of course, there can be an ultimate date that it's not like 1 year from now. But take into account that for sure, the transfer date will play an important role as well. And sometimes you can also agree on taking over some furniture that the actual owner or seller doesn't need to move all of that again, and you just want to leave it. And you say, okay, no problem. You can leave it behind in the property, and we will, take it away afterwards or use it. That's okay for us. And then offer a personal touch, also important. If offers are close, then of course also a little bit emotion will play a role. That's why we also put always a client profile with our offers, that the seller knows who you are. And we help you, of course, with drafting it a little bit, that it has a good impact, and that when offers are close, they are likely to go with your offer and not that from a competitor. Yeah. So make a winning offer. There are some ground rules to follow. And of course, if you ask us to assist with that, we do that with pleasure. And we will go through the offer together with you every time that you like to make an offer and draft the best offer possible. And then this is the wrong side. Due diligence, also very important. Yes, there was one slide missing here. Due diligence, very important. When you look at a property, you have two experts that are important. It's the technical inspector, as I already said, and it's also the appraiser. And the question is then, when do we book them? Do we book them after your offer is accepted, or do we do it upfront? I will give you the answer immediately. The right answer is that we book them after your offer is accepted. Yeah. Why do we do that? Because you can see that already in the total overview of the purchase cost that you have. If you ask a technical inspector or an appraiser to come to your property and to make a report, they will very happy to do that. That's no problem, but they will charge you a fee, of course. The moment that you have those costs already, you make your offer and your offer is not accepted, of course, that can be a lot of money if you need to do more than one offer, what is likely in this market on today. So therefore, we are there for you to do all the review of the documents, also the technical information before making the offer. We will also, as I just said, have a look at the price, asking price, market value, and likely to be the purchase price of the property. So you will be informed about that. But then you make the offer, and when the offer is accepted, then and only then we will ask the technical inspector to come to the site, and also the appraiser to come to the site to make the official report that you need for your mortgage. Yeah, and then you can see they do that immediately after the offer and always before signing the purchase contract. That's how we like it as well, and how we propose to the selling agent to schedule the timeline. In that sense, you will always receive and the information on the value on the property, but also you will be informed about the technical state of the property. And when you sign the purchase contract, you know already that those things are all okay, or if there is a minor defect that you were informed about it, but it's not something new that pops up after you sign the purchase contract. Yeah. And then I will go through the timeline together with you from A to Z to make you understand a little bit, the importance of certain steps and also how we can help you with that, or some other experts can help you at a certain moment. Of course, you start the search. Depending on the package, we help you with booking some viewings. But to be honest, for searching properties on today's market, there are two main streams to follow. It's Funda, because almost all the properties are listed over there on today. And the second thing can be to follow some social media from the city you're looking at, and looking at the biggest selling agents over there, and look also at their social media. But it is also very likely that after 1 or 2 days, everything they put on their social media also pops up on Funda. Still a good idea to do it. Then, of course, you start your search. If you like something, then you will consider making an offer that hopefully is approved by the seller. In between, as I already said, we will support you with that property document review and that price research. After the offer is accepted, of course, we go forward with the appraiser and the technical inspection. I just explained that part. And then it's important, of course, to sign the purchase contract. If you are looking for a property in Amsterdam, you will have a notary making the purchase contract. If you're looking for a property in Groningen, you will have the selling agent drafting the purchase contract. It is a standard contract that they use. Of course, they can always adapt some clauses. So it is clear that the moment that you need to sign, we're going to ask the selling agent to send the draft of the contract to us, and to go through it together with you as well, to see that's one in line with the offer that you made, and of course also in line with general legal rules that apply. If you sign the purchase contract, you still have a cooling off period of 3 days. Yeah? And that means that you sign the purchase contract, but you say, I don't feel happy with it for some reason. You can still cancel the contract without paying any penalty. If you do that after the 3 days, then it's not possible anymore, and you will have to pay a penalty of 10%. And the 10% is equal to the deposit that you will need to pay to the notary. Yeah. The only exception after those 3 days can be that you still have a financial clause. That means that you put your offer conditional to getting an approval on a mortgage. And then, of course, it is a little bit different, and you can still cancel the contract if it's not possible for you to close a mortgage with a bank. But then you need to prove that as well, that you tried to receive a mortgage, but you didn't receive it because of general conditions that apply. After the purchase contract is signed, you will start your mortgage application. Depending on the bank or the service provider that you work with, it's a little bit different as well. As we see that if you go directly to a bank, a mortgage application will take around 4 weeks, something like that. Maybe if you're lucky and it goes fast, then it's within 2 weeks or 3 weeks that is possible. We see that in general, if we work with a mortgage advisor, that they are able to give you some comfort a lot sooner. Normally, it will take around 2 weeks as a maximum for them to agree on your mortgage that they send to the different financial institutions or the one you choose. And even some mortgage advisors are able, we also have a good partner in Groningen, some mortgage advisors are able to close the deal and to give you comfort in 3 days. That is very interesting, of course, because if you know that you can get a response within 3 days after signing of the purchase contract on your mortgage approval, you can even consider not putting in a financial clause in your offer, and doing so, making a very interesting offer for the seller, of course. Yeah. So that's interesting to take that into account and to look at it case by case if you're interested to do it like that, yes or no. After the mortgage application is approved, we will receive a statement of completion or a final note from the notary. That's in the end the price of the property that you pay, plus all the costs that you need to pay, also for the work of the notary that they did. And then deducted from that, of course, the deposit that you already paid, and of course, the mortgage as well that you receive from the bank. And then the balance in the end will be paid by your own savings. But you receive that upfront from the notary, of course, so that you know before the day of signing the transfer deed, which is the exact amount that needs to be in the account of the notary to make everything go smooth. And then the final day, the transfer deed itself. The transfer deed in the end is a little bit of a copy of the purchase contract, but then drafted by the notary in more in a legal correct way, and will also be a document that is registered, that is public to everybody, so that they know that you bought the property. Before you go to the notary, we just do a final inspection of the house together with you. And that is important to have a look at the house at the current state, because of course the sellers moved out of the property, and you also only saw the property at the moment of viewing, but there are some weeks in between, of course, in the meantime. So you do the final inspection. It's a visual inspection. It's not a technical inspection again, but it's a visual inspection, but to see that everything is okay with the house, everything is working as it should. And also, of course, to ask some questions to the seller how certain things like installations function at that moment. If that is okay, then we go to the notary, you sign the purchase contract, and then of course you're the legal owner and you will receive the keys of the property. We have still one important topic to mention. It's the end of the liability term. That is around 2 months after signing of the transfer deed. If there are still some defects at the house and you could not see them, the technical inspection could not see them as well. You were not informed in any document about it, and the seller knew it before, and you can prove as well that the seller knew about that defect, then you can still put him liable for that. But if you want to do that, don't wait too long. Then it is expected also by the court that you take action within 2 months to do something about it. Yeah, but let's hope it never comes that far, and that you just sign the transfer deed and can move into your own property. That is the best way and the nicest way to do it, of course. That's the buying process. I told you that I would still give some information on our packages. You can see that we have 3 different packages. One at the right side is the new build package. That's if you really want to go for a new build. So the process there is a little bit different, as we will not go to viewings of properties. You will not do that as well, but we will receive a lot of information from the developer or his selling agent, and we will have a lot of documents to go into detail, also to look at technical descriptions, and also to look at the contract, what they exactly say about conditions, and also at the terms when to expect the property to be delivered. So that's the new build package, but as I said, we also have a separate webinar about that. The other 2 packages that we offer for existing properties is the smart package and the complete package. What is the difference for that? The smart package, it's, as we say, for the independent. There we are more like a coach to you, and we have some communication with each other in a digital way like we do now, or by phone or by mail or by WhatsApp, whatever. But you go to the viewings, and you also go to the selling agent to sign the purchase contract, or to the notary to sign the transfer deed. But we normally never join on site together with you. We only advise you. And then you have the complete package, and that's more like the standard realty package, to say, where we go from the intake. Of course, we get to know each other, but then we schedule the viewings. We go to the viewings together with you. We also come on site when the inspector or the appraisal is on site. And of course, we go to the selling agent together with you and the notary to sign the documents when that applies. Yeah. So the 2 different packages, the smart and the complete, depending on what exactly you need as an assistance. And that's it at the moment, I believe, from my side. So I don't know, I don't see too many questions, I believe, in the chat for the moment, but you can always drop a question if you still would have some right now. No questions. Perfect. Then, I hope this was interesting for you. Of course, we will share this presentation with you as well, because we recorded. So we will share it in a mail one of the coming days. If you think it's interesting to have like an intake with one of the buying managers and for Groningen, that will be Rafaela, who will assist you. Then you can click on the link that you will see as well in the newsletter or in the mailing list that you receive. And if you just want to contact us for some general information, that's always possible as well, of course. You can go to our website, there is a phone number as well, or you can just schedule an intake or a meeting to get some more information about possible questions that you would have at a certain moment in time. Okay, then I would like to thank you for now. Thank you for attending the webinar. And I hope with you that first, the sun keeps on shining, because that's always nice. And two, that you find some houses that you like. I see something popping up in the chat, Rafaela.
Yes, that's right. We just received one question here from Courtney. For mixed couples, I have two questions. If one partner is under 35 and one is above 35, can you still qualify for benefits in the first home?
Yeah, so the tax exemption will be applied for every person separate. So if you buy together and the exemption applying for one person, then he is exempted. So it's 0%, and the other person needs to pay the 2% when they don't fall in the rules that apply, of course. And that means that in total you only pay 1% over the total purchase price.
Thank you, Philippe. And the next question is, if one of partner is expat and one is native Dutch, can the expat network still help us?
Yeah, of course, that's no problem. That's no problem. You're welcome.
Thank you. So I think that's it for the questions today. I will be very happy to talk to you if you would like to book a personal intake and have any other questions that I may answer them for you later then. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day. And hopefully we see you later to help you buying a nice property in Groningen. Thank you for now. Bye-bye.